Welcome to Planning Phase episode number 90. Tonight, we're going to be talking about what is going to be happening at Worlds, how you can prepare, what lists you possibly might see, and all the other fun stuff that goes into Worlds prep. As well as that, we're going to be talking a little bit about NCX League, and we're going to quickly cover Kyber Cup, the last two teams and their results. Now, officially, Kyber Cup is not over. There is still one more week where the finals are going to go. But I thought it would be fun to cover some of the lists because they will kind of lead into our Worlds conversation. We will probably not get to the discussion tonight on list archetypes, even though I promised we would last week. We're going to probably forgo those and cover Worlds coverage in tandem. With that being said, let's bring in Alex and JJ for tonight. How are you doing, guys?
I'm doing well. How are you? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well myself. I unfortunately got redeployed again to South Carolina for work, so I'm here again, just staying overnight, so that way I can take care of some stuff for work. But I had a great week. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of being part of a warm up tournament over here in Durham with the Carolina Crates, and had a lot of fun playing there, and came in second place. So I was pretty happy with my performance.
Well, cool. Yeah, this weekend I saw Flogging Molly, Skinny Lister, and Anti-Flag, and the best part about that is any of the drinking bros that showed up for that show, when Anti-Flag comes on, they go, let's put politics aside a little bit here, but we can all agree that politicians are trash and we should get rid of them. And it was hilarious because, like if you know anything about, punk music, right? Punk music has always been mostly geared towards anti-establishment and anti-government effects. And it's so when you're going into this crowd, you know what you're going to see. And Flogging Molly, just like the Dropkick Murphys, have always been very pro-union. They've always been very left-leaning. But it's hilarious to hear people like in the crowd booing, and he's just like I think you're in the wrong place, because like there's some people that were standing behind me booing. And I turned around and look at them. I was like, hey, just so you know, you're in the minority here. I just want to make sure you understand. There's a lot of people drinking, and you are in the minority and will not make it out of this unscathed. And they chided me a little bit and then just kind of like moved on. But anyway, so that was my fun experience. It was the first Flogging Molly concert I've ever seen sober, because alcohol at these arenas now cost like $13 to $20 a drink, and it's just like forget it, like I don't need to drink that badly. So, but it was a fun overall experience. I tried to give Alex a free ticket. He still didn't want to go. Just couldn't believe it,
It's kind of hard to drive 2.5 hours, just off a whim. Cancel all my plans.
It is.
Even if they are one of my favorite bands.
There you go. But anyway, so that was my weekend. A little update for the show. Next week, we will not be broadcasting Sunday, but we will probably be broadcasting Monday or Tuesday. Just as an FYI, as of now, we're tentatively putting it on Monday, but depending on JJ's travel schedule, we may have to move it to Tuesday. So we'll kind of confirm that in our Discord later this week. I've also taken a page out of Greg's book, and I think we're going to put a schedule in there for people to see, and I just have to remember to maintain it. With Nickel City games, it seems unfair for us to pick a game up and then not post about it. So as of right now, I am streaming at least one game on Friday, and hopefully 2 games Friday for Nickel City League. So
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to be streaming a lot more games for Nickel City. Last week we had a great game that we streamed, and just an update: Team EndGame did win their first week So congratulations to all my teammates, Tanner, Preston, included, for getting that first win. This next week, we're going to face off against the Mega Milk Union, and it's going to be a good matchup. They have a lot of great players, but so do we. So I'm excited to see how we do next week.
I need a new list. That's all I could say. I would like a new list. My list fell apart in the last 2 rounds. We were tied like 7-6 basically going into round 5 or 6. And then Kanan dies. So that's 4 points. And then Dirge literally probably threw no more than 1 hit or 1 eyeball every ion cannon. Like they just like blank, 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 blank. Just I don't know. Like I couldn't ionize anybody, which Dread. I played Dread Champ this week, and his list relies on locks, 100%. So even when Dirge got to shoot first to try to ionize Garvin, it didn't matter. It was just like Garvin's like, don't worry about it. I'll take a damage here. I'll take a damage there. Stuff like that. But no, I did not fly Star Vipers, Deslin. And I'll be honest with you, I will play the league, but in fairness, 90% of my practice games are going into Worlds right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
If I didn't have money involved in Worlds, it would be a little bit different, but because I have money on the line in Worlds, I'd prefer to ensure that my CIS list can take it. But I will probably be switching back to fire sprays and or some sort of a rook character or something like that. So, but let's look at the results. Why don't we do that first? So here's all of the teams and all the standings essentially for it. So you can kind of see all the individual wins, losses, see which teams came out. Team Havoc, interestingly enough, lost their first game this week. Ali was the 5th game, and Ali lost. Surprisingly, I was very surprised, but Teddy was able to pull that win out and put Magic over the top. So, yay for that.
That's a terrifying team, Havoc. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, the Chris's. Yes.
Yeah. Christ.
Exactly. So obviously our team won our match against the Punishers. Then it looks like Mega Milk Union came out as the win, with Deslin the only win for NJO. A lot of close games, it looks like, in there, very high scoring games. And then Tinder Gods lost by 1 point. 1 point. It was the last round, and Matt Carey just couldn't squeak it out over Levi. So,
yeah, really surprised on that loss there. That was crazy.
Yeah, so their games all came down to the last one. And Fox had a commanding lead with 4-1. And then Team V also 4-1 against CFIS.
Way to go, Mark Robert, for losing there. 12-20 on salvage. Way to go.
Did he? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not calling anyone out, except for Mark Robert.
You could call Mark out. That's okay. I don't even know what faction Mark's playing.
Yeah, I don't know either. I didn't get a discussion about it with him.
But so that's kind of where the NCX leagues. We are facing off, like JJ said, against Mega Milk Union. My game is gonna be this weekend. Shit, I hope we're not streaming over top of when I'm supposed to play my game. I should probably double check that.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't remember what I told Kess we'd play. Kess and I are playing this weekend, I think. Saturday. We're playing Saturday. So so once we get a time in place, maybe we'll post it and somebody could pick our game up. So I have nothing going this weekend except for the concert on Sunday. So all right. So that's what it is. If you don't know what Nickel City League is, you should definitely check it out. I think we've talked enough about it on this show for you to know what it is, but you never know, I guess. So why don't we move on to we'll go a little bit into our discussion on Kyber Cup. And what I wanted to do is we're really only going to look at the top 4 teams. And I want to preface this and say, to some extent, these lists have been tailored. A, they're 8 weeks old. B, they're also very tailored to a team type environment where you get to pick and choose your list. And so I want to caution us, but I think the base archetype that we're seeing here outside of Ali's list is something that is very common. And I do think that it is something that is worthwhile, kind of looking into. So essentially the top 4 teams was the Tonk Cast 186, which is, I'm assuming, 186 Squadron, Ali's team. People's Front of Jeddah, Hexiled Gaming, and Sexy Gonk Droids.
Hell yeah.
So there is that. Sexy Gonk Droids. I don't know who won the best name for the season.
Oh my gosh, I think I have to look it up. But there,
I was about to say, I think it was like a Jawa something, right? Wasn't that?
Was it the Jawa one?
Yeah, I don't remember the name.
But I thought it was hilarious to Sexy Gonk Droids. So I figure what we'll do is the top 2 teams again are still playing. They have not officially finished up the season, so they are still playing this week. So next week we'll give an update on which one won versus the other one. But I figured it'd be fun to kind of break a little bit of the list down to begin with. So to begin with, we're going to be talking about Tonkcast 186. And Alex, you can have first pick on which list you want to go over.
Oh, I'm going to talk about Ollie's because that's interesting to me. He has a crazy list that you wouldn't typically see. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe people bring it. It's Flight Leader Ubel with Ruthless, Sync Laser Cannons, and Hot Shotgunner. And that is because 2 other ships here in this list shoot before him, and the other one probably doesn't shoot at all. So you don't need Tiber Saxon. He also has Soontir Fel with Predator, Crackshot, and Shield Upgrade. Boy Vader, and good luck trying to kill this piece. Moff Gideon with Cloaking Device, Overtune Modulators, and Elusive. And also of note, he played in the Sith Takers League with almost the exact same list, except for he swapped out Ubel for Vermeil, which is real interesting for his Vermeil. He had Ion Limiter, Override, Seventh Sister, Captain Harkin, Targeting Computer. And that just hits real hard, so it's all offense. I like the list. I would never fly it. I wouldn't be good enough to fly it, but I like it.
Yeah, this is not a Tanner list here. And I think it's just because. So, how do you fly? Do you just put Moff and Ubel together, or do you put Ubel and Vader together?
I have no idea.
Because if you think Ubel gets burned down.
Yeah, I would definitely put Vader and Ubel together because you want Soontir to be that flanker there. Ubel wants to take those shots at range with Sync Laser because that targeting assist gives him 2 calculates, so he can easily take a lock and then take the 2 calculates to help get those range bonuses, and that works most effective when you can draw your attackers away from Ubel by giving them some bait with Soontir Fel. So I would definitely pair Ubel and Vader together to kind of discourage, and then Gideon to go in and be the objective monkey and give out some strains when needed.
Yeah, I wonder how many times he Moff Gideon to Soontir Fel because Soontir Fel wasn't getting shot. And remember, Moff Gideon also has 2 charges, and if you shoot at Ubel, he can shoot you twice, and that's very devastating.
So, question for you guys: would you classify this as an ace list?
It's closer to an ace list than other archetypes that we have talked about.
Yeah, I think I would classify as ace just because Vader and Soontir alone,
But it's not like a traditional kind of super flanky ace list. It just has Soontir doing a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. JJ, which one do you want to cover next?
Of course, I'm going to cover Caterbees. He's running Scum here, double fire spray with Kanan, archetype that I flew for quite some time. He's got Eamon and Zayman here with Savage Press, Proton Bombs, Marauder title, and Veteran Tail Gunner. Boba Fett with Fearless, Proton Bombs, Contraband Cybernetics, Slave 1 title, Ahsoka Tano crew, and Veteran Tail Gunner. And then Kanan Jarrus with Maul, classic build there. You got 2 fire sprays with Force, and also with Proton Bombs to discourage chasing. They're very, very tough to take down, especially with Kanan Jarrus. No surprise there that this is doing very well. This is a very, very good list.
So is there a reason you put Ahsoka on Boba versus Savage? Is it just so that you could get the proton bombs on there?
It's the points, right? Because Savage Press is 1 more points, and that you would have to make a decision between Contraband or Fearless on Boba. So I think you just do that just to get a little more items or upgrades on Boba versus having Savage.
Gotcha. And then the other question is there a reason to use Eamon over like Kath or somebody else?
People are really bad against bombs.
Yeah.
People are really bad against bombs.
Yeah, Marauder combined with Eamon's ability to just like launch stuff out the back at a range, and if you can make him chase you, Eamon can be very, very good at Initiative 4. So.
Makes sense. And then the last list for their team is from Dom, and Dom is running. I guess I can make that a little bit bigger. I can't tell if that's big enough or not. Dom is running a CIS list that's similar art type as we've seen before, with Django, Dirge, Grievous, and 404. Grievous is standard loadout Grievous. Dirge is Proton Bombs, Proton Cannon, and the title and Elusive. And then we have Django with Savage, Proton Bombs, Contraband, FTC, Ablative Plating, so you can drop 2 Proton Bombs in a row, and VTG and Slave 1. And I do wonder, so the real question is, and there's been always this debate, do you run Notorious, right? Is Notorious better than everything else? Because in this build, you could drop Ablative Plating and Proton Bombs down to Seismics, and then have Notorious. But because you have less ships shooting, is it better just to leave Django in the mix, get the double taps as he can, drop the bombs as they want to, and then Django doesn't have to worry about taking bombs from his own self? Because you could just one straight and bump and leave a bomb, and everybody takes a crit. And twice you could do that.
Yeah, I think for here, it looks like he's making a priority to make sure that those bombs go off there. And being at I6, especially with a medium base, if you're in this towards the center of the board where there's a good concentration of ships and obstacles, there's a good chance that if you drop your proton bomb and your opponent adjusts to try to make to block you, to keep you there, to make you suffer your own effect, Ablative Plating at least helps you avoid that, or go over an obstacle and avoid the damage from that obstacle as well.
That's true.
A little bit of a get out of jail free card for Django Fett, for that at least.
I mean, think about it. It's almost like dual Contraband if you could just go through that obstacle. I like it.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting
don't bring
take.
Debris clouds. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or the stupid gas clouds.
Stupid gas clouds. That's true.
Sometimes I don't want to be locked, Just run through a gas cloud. It'll be fine.
I tried to do that today with Kanan, and I missed the gas cloud by this much. It's horrible because I always forget that even though your base crosses, if the straight line doesn't cross, it doesn't matter. And so I just 3-straighted, and I was like, oh, I didn't touch the gas cloud. Oh, which is all I wanted to do. I should have just 2-banked that way is what I should have done. Because then it would have broken all the locks and then forced everybody to take more locks. So, excuse me. The second team in the top at Kyber is the People's Front of Jeddah. I actually kind of like that name. PFJ. It's almost like a PDF, but PFJ sounds like a military group.
I was going to go to the Chinese restaurant, but yeah.
Oh, PF Chang's, yeah, PFJ's. Yeah. All right, I can see it. All right, Alex, you're up again. Which list do you want to cover?
Ooh, I'll take this Republic list over here. It's definitely not something we've seen before. It's really cool. The first thing you have is 7B Anakin, but without maneuver and R7A7. That's the crit droid. That is a very aggressive Anakin. Very good at flanking. Up next, we have Obi-Wan with Predator and Shield upgrade. I still maintain that R2-D2 is better than Shield upgrade, but I understand it's really hard to get one shot when you have 5 health. And then Adi Gallia with CLT, Chopper, Brilliant Evasion, and Predator. That you don't see too frequently, and it's another I-5 Jedi with 2 Force and Chopper's real dirty. And then Click with dedicated R3 and Seismics. I'm sure at this you would target lock Adi Gallia and Obi-Wan. And hopefully try to flank with Anakin. If not, you might, maybe you do take the lock on Anakin. Like Adi, and that way, just in case Anakin gets like trapped or something, you can.
I think you're right. I think you put it on Obi and Adi, because if everybody's gonna put their effort into Anakin to keep the outmaneuver from happening, then all Click's doing is being a little bit more aggressive next turn and locking Anakin, right? I don't think Anakin's getting held to the task as easily as people think. That Anakin likes to live, and with that, outmaneuver, obviously it's like a I6 Grievous to me, is what that feels like.
Yeah, and the other part too that most people don't think about Click is that Click can be used offensively. So if you're shooting at a ship at range 3, you can use Click and negate that range bonus for that one as well. So you can turn off that extra dice. So that works really well, specifically for Adi or Obi-Wan if they're able to line up that bullseye at range 3. Kind of hard on against a small base, but more likely to happen on a larger medium base.
It's really funny, like with Adi Gallia, because you just deny him the range 3 bonus, and then you spend a Force and get the extra attack die.
Oh, so dirty. Is Adi
Oh, sorry, wait, no, it's the opposite of that.
Is Adi I4 or I5?
I5.
I5.
Yep. One of these ships is going to be flanking, and it's terrible if it's Adi because there's Chopper on there. So if she's close, I've done so many terrible things with Chopper. It's real fun, and if you get in a tight situation, you can just run into people now, and you don't have to like jam yourself. So if it gets real dicey, you can just, and they might be here. I'm going to just smash right into them. Who cares about Chopper right now? I'll still get a focus mod.
Yeah, I like it. I like seeing Gotti on the table. I think especially if we get a little bit of a change in Republic coming up here after Worlds, I think Adi is going to be a go-to for 5 points. It's not the 4 point, Lumi that we get, but it does offer a big replacement, I think. And gives competition now to Obi, and it's got 12 points, so you can run out maneuver if you really want to. There is that option.
But look at this ace list that's coming into play here, right?
Yeah.
6, 5, 5, and a 4.
Yep.
All with double reposition. Well, not Click, but he doesn't need the reposition.
Click's just a support piece. That's all it is. If you want to kill Click, it's 3 points. Have at it. Kill Click before he just starts killing you with bombs. Can you imagine if you could swap out that dedicated if you really wanted to and have proton bombs on Click, and it would be even more dirty.
No, keep that dedicated. That thing's so useful.
Yeah. All right. JJ, which list do you want?
So I'm gonna go with the list that KTC has here, or rather BSM 86. So this is a list very similar to what I ran here for week 1 here. So we got Empire list with Battle Yavin Invader and Mauler Mythal with Backstabber. Also the Battle Yavin version. Iden Versio with Elusive and Ion Cannon, and then Vizier with Emperor Palpatine to round off that list. You got a lot of utility with Mauler and Backstabber just being able to run off on their own and provide that extra support. Vader is a little more free to go in and be that I6 hammer wherever he needs to go. And then you got Iden and Vizier providing support. Iden can fly with the TIE fighters if they want to, but honestly, Iden is actually a really great objective grabber. Um, whether you're playing for salvage or scramble, if you decide to waste shots into Iden, she has that get out of jail free card, and having a Beethoven elusive makes it really hard to bring her down. So you're wasting shots on a 3-point chip where the rest of the list can come in and haunt you. And then you have Vizier that's covering Palpatine to have that force as that extra modification there. Personally, for me, I like Vizier better with Seven Sister and Captain Hark. I feel there's a lot more utility there, but having that passive mod for the rest of your list is cannot be understated how good that is to have on the list there. So it's really good.
Yeah, I would agree with you in that. I like Seven Sister better, but that's just me. And I think it's sneakier. I understand the logic in the Pelp here, right? Pelp is meant to save you. That's what it's there for. And it's funny because they run Backstabber over running Juno, which is your favorite. So
yeah, really good.
All right, the last list is by Thurlin, and
That's so cool. I love this
it
list.
is a silencer list with Kylo. It's not just any silencer; it'd be Kylo with Malice and Proton Torpedoes. Because why not? Because you can definitely do some dirty work there. Oh, can you can just Malice your Proton Torpedo, have a couple of crits in there, and then you get to get your force back after you're shooting dirty. Malorus with clusters. Then we have DT798 with advanced optics, Fanatical. Scorch with advanced optics, Fanatical, and Predator, which is insanely interesting to me over Proud Tradition. I've not seen that before, but I'm sure it probably works out in Scorch's benefit more than one time. And then we have Captain Phasma, an SF here, with Proud Tradition Pattern Analyzer, FCS, and Special Forces Gunner, because Captain Phasma is amazing here. Just really good. Especially, I just love Captain Phasma so much. Me and Matt used to run her all the time. That was just, like, I even have a little Lego Captain Phasma piece. But can't do that anymore, I guess, at Worlds. Anyway, so I like this list too. I actually would probably run a version of this. To be honest with you, this list has 2 really decent heavy hitters and then 3 medium hitters, and essentially the idea of this list is 1,000,000% offense. That's what it is. It's just saying, here I'm going to take focuses and I'm going to just murder you. So those were the top 2 teams. We will move on to the next ones. The next one is Hexstyle Gaming with Matt, Carey, Tyler, Tibbet, and Mark, and I don't remember Mark's last name off the top of my head. You can see some similarities here. Matt Carey and JJ, go ahead and run down Matt Carey's list.
Yeah, so this one here definitely is a little more offensive minded here. You got Darth Vader, Battle Yavin version with Mauler and Backstabber as well. Howl Runner making a return here with Shield Upgrade and Iden Versio as well. This one here makes me think that these ties fly in a tighter formation. I think you can actually probably set these up in a 4, like in a box, like 2 and 2, and you have pretty much all the mods you need for all those ships there. Mauler and Backstabber being those 3-die guns that'll have the rerolls with Howl Runner, which is really good. And if you go after Howl Runner, you got Iden Versio to back it up, and you have a shield upgrade, so you have a lot of work to do to try to take out these Initiative 5 ties. and then Vader, of course, being that hammer, just being able to come in from the side. You can either try to engage Vader, or you have to ignore Vader to try to take out those ties. Definitely a lot of choices to be made.
Yeah, each one of these ships has an extra health. These are all 4 health TIE fighters, and then Vader, the boy version, has an extra shield baked in right there. So that's just a lot to chew through, and the shield upgrade makes it so you don't have to burn your Iden charge on just like 1 crit. It's ugh. I would definitely do like a box formation and like have Vader off wherever, or just next to it. Who cares? Like it's a lot of offense.
Yeah, this is this is an Alpha Strikey list. That's what this is. I know that there's 0 munitions, but I mean Vader is 3 to 4 hits consistently. Mauler is typically 3 hits consistently, almost always. And now you're adding Howl Runner in, where you're just getting rerolls. So now you're getting rerolls for your offense. So it just makes everything insanely consistent. And obviously the shield upgrades is basically him saying, I don't want either of these 2 ships to die. So if you target Howl Runner, you essentially have to burn through the 4 health. And then on top of burning through the 4 health, you have to burn through the Iden charge. On top of that. And it's the same with Iden. You want to burn through Iden. Iden's the worst one out of that whole list. And she's there to keep you alive.
It's beefy for what that kind of list is.
Yeah. So very cool list. Definitely something that we have not seen specifically with the Howl Runner in it. Usually that is reserved for Vizier, but I could see how in this list it would do very well, especially if you put especially if you don't have to go through a million objectives for it, right? So let's move on to the Resistance list. Mark is running Kaz in the Fireball with Heroic, R1J5, FTC, Advanced Slam, Targeting Computer, and the title. Then we have an appearance of Covenel, which is a little surprising, but we've seen it before. And Covenel is essentially R4 and Leia and marksmanship. And I'll remember, Leia doesn't work on stops anymore. So there's that whole thing. And then you have Lulu. Lulu, you have. Man, could you imagine if we had Lumi?
No, I'd be terrified.
No,
I don't want that.
No, thank you.
Going against Kaz and Lumi's backing him up? No.
And we have Lulu with Predator, Shield Upgrade, and Heroic. And then we have Poe Falcon with Composure, because sure. Trick Shot, Novice Technician, FTC, Ray, Engine Upgrade, and Ray's Millennium Falcon. And I think we covered this last week. Mark must have played. It must have been something that showed up last week as something. Because I think we had this exact same conversation last week. Like, you could trade out Composure and Trick Shot for Notorious. That's just a simple 5-point change. But obviously Mark's done very well with this list. And maybe there's something we don't know about Composure that someday we'll all mysteriously learn.
Oh,
I don't know.
Nope. You have 1 point left over. You're not going to bullseye anyone.
I guess.
So I like this list because I really love Falcon Poe. But man, Kova is a weird.
Yeah, because
when you only have 4 ships.
Pods.
Yeah, I mean you could split Kova into Finn and BB-8 if you wanted to. But it's just I don't know. I don't like Kova when all my other ships are flanking, basically.
Yeah. Or ZZ. And like I guess what is the Leia just supposed to be for the weird turns you want to sloop, or it's got to just be for the turns you want to sloop, or do something crazy with Lulu or Kaz. Like it's got to be something like that.
Well, you could do the reverses on Kova with Leia.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
You just took 16 points to not take a stress to go backwards.
Well, you get the bonus die with Kova's ability too, but it's very useful. Like I played Kova for a little bit in 2.0, and I enjoyed that. It's just not when I don't have like things that are jousting. I think that's the biggest problem. But also, I'm not top 4 in Kyber Cup, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you can also do a slam action, or rather, you could do like a three talon roll, make it white on Kaz, and then slam into like a 3 hard. Like that. That's a potential use there as well.
Okay, that makes more sense. But to do that with Kaz, are you going to take a 5-point ship with a 16-point load of loadout just for that? I don't know.
I mean, you can always not use the force and just use it as a passive mod as well.
That's
I mean,
true.
It's just there for that emergency, right?
It's also a purple coordinate. So you can get an extra action out of it if you don't want to use it for Leia's inherent force ability.
True. That is true. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that obviously it may cut. It's. I won't say it's a bad list. It's weird for me with Covenel. But I mean, I guess we had, what was it? Was it Gen Con? Or was it? It wasn't Gen Con. What was the one after Gen Con? PAX? Nova. Somebody somebody did use Covenel very like in May Top Cut with it too. So I could see it having its uses. Covenel does hit hard. Like, Covenel can definitely hit hard, but
it's just, I feel like that's just the first thing you go after in that list, and it's rough giving up 5 points like that.
Well, and I think that's why if they do that, you leave Poe to basically come in and murder you. That's what you're doing. But again, if you had Notorious on Poe, maybe it would be different. I don't know.
More incentive not to shoot. Or
Yeah,
more
I mean,
incentive not to shoot Poe.
Desi does bring up a point for composure on Poe. You could attempt to, like, unscramble, try to claim that objective, and you're too far and failed your action, then you can at least get a focus on Poe. Like, it's a corner case. I guess there is a use for it. But yeah, I mean, with Kova, doesn't the ability also work on defense as well? Like, he would roll 2 green?
Yes.
Right? I mean, hey, that's a 3 attack, 2 defensive, 8 health ship. With a force backing it up, I think that's kind of hard to take down fairly fast. I think you have an easier time with like Kaz, honestly.
I don't know. Have you ever played against a Kova? That thing dies real fast, even with the extra agility.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad. I think it is. I think you're right. I think that's a point trap is what that is. So if they do go after it, you just converge on people going after Covenel. So
she's super good in assault.
I'm assuming that, yeah, she's very good. Yeah, get a triangle set up and just go boop. I'm just gonna sit here.
Just gonna reverse one bank, and just be that the whole game.
Yep, I'll take my 3 points each time. Oh, that'd be so dirty. Oh, so dirty. All right, let's go on to the next one before we spend too long. The last one we have is by Tyler. Alex, you want to read off Tyler's list?
Yes, this is a Republic list. I'm pretty sure we've covered something very similar to this before. It's SOC Kickback, SOC Contrail, SOC Click, SOC Wolf, SOC Jag, and Stub with a shield upgrade. We've seen that at other tournaments before, and it can still do well. It's a lot of offense.
Yeah, this is my favorite Republic list right here, right now. But that's because it resembles a little bit like CIS, just probably better because you have more green dice.
I'd still swap out Contrail for normal. Build your own Contrail because Dedicated is super, super good.
Sure. And same with Click. You could technically do it with Click too. You could really have it with both of them if you want.
Yeah, really good salad list. I like it a lot.
Oh, I don't think this is a salad list, JJ. This list is a beef list. This list is the list that doesn't die. This is not salad. A 6-ship salad list.
So I kind of disagree because a really good shot into kickback or control and it's gone immediately. A beef list, there's a lot of hole to chew through, which you can wolf jag and I mean Stub maybe, but he's still, that's still 5 health. It just requires number one, you got to have the mods for it, right, to back up the beef because of their ability with the Born for this ability and click as well. But once that's gone and they don't have any tokens, I think they die fairly faster than a regular beefless would. That's just my opinion, though.
Now, hear me out. What if we took Wolf and turned it into SOC Obi-Wan, and then took Jab and Stub and combined it together into 7B Anakin?
Then you have a totally different list.
Yes, but that list is terrifying and real well.
Yeah,
I know. Trust me, I know.
But, so has Tyler Giebelhausen's list over here, so I wonder what the kind of matchups, because that's a terrifying list to go against if you are a 3-ship scum list. Just from experience, like arcs and just consistent shots really eat away at like the 3-die or the 3 ship lists.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the problem, what I have with this list is this has a control feel to it with the ion bombs, and then on top of it, it has a B feel to it. I don't feel this is very salady, but that's just me. Maybe we can look up the definitions if we want. How about that?
But it has extra croutons. I get it, but it's still a salad, buddy.
Okay, well we'll pull up the list, or we'll pull up the things, and we'll go through that in a minute. I can't get asked enough because I have to do all the work here. It seems.
Change Contrail into something with dedicated.
Well, then it's even worse.
no, you have more consistent defense because you get to reroll blanks.
That's what I'm saying. It's even worse. It never dies then.
Right. Contrail could just be build your own Contrail, and Stub could be like Z95 Hog, which I've done before, which you could put on dedicated like a shield upgrade.
I think Desi made the correct comparison. It's actually a steak salad. That's what it is. So.
A steak salad?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on to the sexy gonk droids. JJ, which list do you want to go through?
I'll go over the resistance one here. I think so. We will start with that one here. So we got the White T-1300 Poe Dameron here with Trick Shot, Heroic, C-3PO, Rey, and the title. I think that's actually probably the definitive version. I like that version a lot. Followed by 2 pods. We have BB-8 with automated targeting priority and Han Solo, Finn with heroic, elusive, perceptive co-pilot, Jarrett Yeager in the Fireball with heroic marksmanship, mag pulse missiles, targeting computer, munitions failsafe in the title, and then ZZ in the RZ1 or RZ2 making a comeback here with heroic proton torpedoes and event optics. Super accurate with ZZ there, just being able to use those events optics for that conversion there. It definitely has a high spike value. I mean, you got Poe Dameron there with Trick Shot, C-3PO, and Rey being able to be very accurate around the board. And I would figure that you would probably put this as in like a kiting maneuver, going around the edges, taking shots as you can, inflicting that big damage from the beginning, and then CZ being able to hunt down the stragglers to go there. And then you got BB-8 and Finn being able to contest objectives if they need to, along with Jarek at I-5. This list is probably very, very strong at Scramble, being able to claim those objectives and still have a lot of offense left over. It's very good.
All right. Alex, you're up.
I'm trying to figure out if we played these guys before, because I feel like... No, we didn't. Because I played something very similar to that resistance list. That's why I was just curious. Also, JD, why do you think that is the definitive Poe build? I am curious on that.
Well, with Poe's ability to boost or ignore obstacles upon movement, being able to have passive mods both in heroic on defense, if you're shooting obstructed, having that ability to reroll those dice gives it a little bit of that defensive like mods. Trick Shot, obviously, Poe wants to use the ability as much as he can to go around obstacles and ignore obstacles and hopefully take advantage of that. And then having Rey for that blank conversion is really good. And if you're in a good spot already and you don't need to take that boost action, C-3PO giving those double calculates. 2 calculates is actually better than a focus result in general. for modifying your attack dice, and I think that he's going to have very very consistent attacks for his role. And even if he needs to take an objective at I6, he has plenty of actions to do so. So I think this is probably the more offensively balanced version of Poe Dameron.
I see your point in that, and I don't disagree. I think it's a play style thing a little bit. I don't feel it's definitive, though. I will definitely tell you I don't feel that's definitive, but maybe it is for that play style, right? I don't like the trick shot piece of it as much because turn 0 can screw you up a lot more and force you to go. Your opponent can force you to go if you want your trick shot shots more often. And I'm again, maybe I'm just on the notorious train too often here, but I don't care for heroic on Poe, and I like notorious a lot better. But that's just me. I do see the value in C3PO though. I mean, C3PO has been really good. I don't like the C3PO coordinate piece of it, but I guess if you're not getting shot at by anybody or you don't need the mod, right, C3PO can be really good for that. Not as good as the Republic C3PO, though. That one is totes my goats.
Yeah, I don't know. When I play Falcon Poe, I do target lock a lot more, so I wouldn't do something like take the calculates or whatever with C3PO. I just find that the target lock and then the reroll and Ray, you're getting really consistent shots. But, I could see why it'd be done. I mean, still an I6 coordinate, and that sets up something like ZZ to target lock and boost or whatever to get to the procket range, or Jarek to get a double modded mag pulse, which is never anything you want to see.
No.
So,
all right.
Okay, I'll go over Surf's list. It's a Republic list. We're going to go from the bottom up to make it dramatic. SOC Kickback, SOC Contrail, SOC Wolf, SOC Jag, and Y-Wing Anakin.
Y-Wing Anakin, baby.
It's almost like they heard your old comment and then said, nope, we're going with the B-Wing. The Y-Wing, rather.
Yeah, they got proton torpedoes on Anakin, proton bombs. You got a dorsal and veteran turret gunner, which is real interesting to me because those things, they have a 1-2 straight. That's the only blue maneuvers.
Well, I mean, Anakin's ability, right? If he gets close, he could just take the stress off, right? If he gets stressed.
Yeah, I guess.
But then you're not taking the proton.
You don't want
torpedo.
to intentionally do that, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you spend the force, so you can take the lock, and then you have 2 for proton torpedoes. The veteran turret gunner is interesting to me. I wonder if he's just like putting that forward and double tapping people, or if he's like trying to skate.
I definitely would, right? Because if you're too close for missiles, while it's a Top Gun reference, you got 2 3-dice shots coming out the front, and you have force to back you up. That's pretty good.
And you're not really using that force for defense because they only got 1 die. So.
Yep. Then you can drop your bombs in 4K and do it all over again. You just like go up and down the board like it's like a defender. This is the beginning of Vader Defender, folks. That's what this is. This is the original Vader Defender. This is before he was corrupted.
You know what? I bet I'd be pretty good with Y-Wing Anakin solely because of how many times I bullseye thing off 4K with oddball. And I can just clear the stress. Doesn't matter. Bullseye range 3, clear the stress, take the target lock, proton torpedo.
So
I'm just saying.
9 points.
I'm just saying, and if you think about it, Alex. You can if you get the 4K, you get to get rid of your stress, you get your target lock, and then you have a ship right in front of you. You shoot your proton torpedo, then you double tap out the front with your dorsal turret.
Yeah, I mean, if you just have the person at range 2, it works too.
Yeah,
it's maybe you get to turn down a crit for the plated.
Oh, yep, and the plated hull. Well,
yep.
You could drop the bomb too before you 4K. I don't know. I like it. I think it's cool. I I agree with you on the contrail. I would at least change contrail in this one if it were me. But that kickback is hard because you get that extra health, and you get the evade, and you get the missiles if you ever decide to use missiles. You know how many kickbacks I've seen use missiles? Almost none. Everybody just wants the evade.
It's really sad. You know what you can do is build your own contrail with Sync Council.
Yes.
Go down to seismic charges and Anakin with Sync Council, and then pass that off to like Contrail, who's next to kickback, who can pass it off to him while shooting next to Jag, who then gets a target lock for Wolf to spend, who gets it back, and then also you can Sync Council back to wherever else you want. But you can't do that in lists, so oh well. Not in these upgrades.
Yeah. Greg coming in saying the lists are cowardly. Greg, you are absolutely right, because that is precursor Vader Defender, folks. That's what that is. Somehow Vader Defender is 3 points more, and you get no bombs. I think we should give bomb slots to Vader Defenders and maybe make them lower in points.
Yep, perfect.
And there goes all the viewers. All right, the last list is not me, so don't think it is. The last list is Chris, and I don't remember his last name either because I was tired. It's not me, trust me. I tried to run Little. Empire, and JJ told me I couldn't. So it's Boy Vader and Iden with an elusive, and Ion Cannon, Mauler, Backstabber, Boys, and Vizier with Pelp. We've already seen this type of a list more than one time.
Yeah, it's like it's already in the finals, just different person.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of so that concludes our discussion on Kyber Cup stuff, right? So that's if we're talking about what is Kyber Cup, what is it going to be? We got 1 week left, and then after 1 week, we got a whole bunch of Worlds prepping discussions, right? Because that's what everybody's going to be talking about with 3 weeks to go. So tonight, the reason I wanted to cover that was because to me, Worlds prep, if you're going to Worlds, is important. If you're not, no big deal, right? We'll have fun for you, JJ, don't worry. And what? Hey, you could still go and have fun. Greg is not playing even in the last chance qualifier, and he's going. You could hang out with all of us. It would still be fun. You could make the drive if you really wanted to. You don't even have to fly if you don't want to.
That's a long drive, bro.
13 hours?
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
I don't think that's that long. How long is that? That's not even a full day.
Yeah, now everyone can tell that we're from the Midwest.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you see if any of the other boys from Crate Cup are going? Maybe you catch a ride with some of them. There you go. See? You can still come. You can still come. There, look, Greg and Desi are going to go. You can see if they'll pick you up, swing through halfway. And no,
just come to my house. That's halfway there, and then we just go from there.
Yeah, I mean, if you come in, you could come in. You could ride with me if you want to come in. You fly into the Indianapolis area, whatever's cheaper. Detroit's probably cheaper, actually, to be honest with you. Unless you can get a straight shot into Chicago. That's super cheap then.
You take a flight from Detroit to Chicago and get there 15 minutes after you left. That's real fun.
That's Grand Rapids too for you. Or Ohio. There you go. Fly into Ohio. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't go into Ohio.
Yeah, nobody wants to go to Ohio, Matt.
Yeah. Ohio's not for me. I was born in Ohio, though, just if you didn't know that.
No, I'm sorry.
So, I was born in Springfield, Ohio.
I hear the train system in Ohio is not the best right now.
No, it's not. I would not.
Hey, we had a train crash a week later in Detroit, okay?
Did we have toxic chemical spills?
No, they made sure to point out that there was no toxic chemicals that were released into the environment of the Detroit one.
Actually, there was a few bottles of Mountain Dew that leaked. Sorry, guys.
No, it's Fago, man. It's Fago. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Fago.
Are you not from Michigan? You
Moon
don't know
Mist.
anything about Michigan? Moon Mist,
Yeah,
baby.
it's Fago's version of Mountain Dew.
They've had 3 in 2 months. That's crazy. All right, so let's talk some Worlds prep. And I bet you neither of the boys prepped for this one. But I feel it's a pretty simple conversation, right? We can openly discuss a couple of different things, right? What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk a couple of different things for Worlds, right? Like, let's talk a little bit about what is your idea on how you should prep for your lists, right? What are some of the lists that we're possibly going to see? And that's kind of what we went through, right? The reason I want to go through Kyber Cup is because these have been the baseline of the lists that we feel we're going to see. So we're going to see, obviously, like Boy Vader. That's going to be up there. And stuff like that. So those boys are not prepped. Those boys are broken. Hence why they're in play. Anyway, sorry, I'm being salty now. Yeah, you take a 3-point tie that gets a free shield upgrade for 3 points. Super smart. Anyway, so we want to talk about Worlds prep, and again, to me, like, I think there's a couple of different ways. Like I said, we can approach this. You can kind of talk about how do you want to prepare your list, what you want to fly, and different things like that. So what I want to do is let's go around the room first. So we're going to kind of break this down in succession before we talk lists and what you should be practicing against. What is your number one thing that you feel you should be doing to get ready for Worlds?
Well, for me, I'll talk about the mental part of preparation for Worlds, right? So I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like getting your mindset ready for that, whether you've already have your Worlds ticket or if you're trying to go for the last chance qualifier to get into Worlds there. From there, and just kind of have that mindset of preparing for Worlds, right? This is going to be a big tournament. This is where you can find all the players worldwide coming and gathering to come in and compete for this particular event, or at least try to qualify for the event for the LCQ. And you got to be ready for it, right? It's going to be definitely a strenuous tournament, especially if you do manage to qualify. 5 rounds in person is not an easy task. You got to be mentally prepared to make decisions constantly on your list, especially the more ships you have, the more decisions you have to make. So you have to make sure that your mind's up for the task, because you might be, fresh and ready mentally for those first 2 games, but once you start getting to game 4 or game 5, that's a very long game, having a lot of or very big lists with a lot of complicated triggers. If you're not ready for that, that's going to be very taxing for you, and you're going to end up either forgetting triggers or doing misplays or mixing up files, and that could end up negatively affecting you when you're playing your match for that round. The other part of it too is taking a look at your list, and depending on your mindset for it, some people are a little more competitive than others in terms of how serious they take the tournament prep. Others are there to have a good time, and neither mindset is wrong, because ultimately what you want to do is have fun at the Worlds, right? You're meeting a bunch of people there that you may have only seen through various other events or talk with them on Discord, but you want to mentally prepare to be there to compete, right? If your purpose is to be part of Worlds and possibly make cut, you want to make sure that you have the mindset of, this is my list. I understand that this plays to my play style, how I prefer to play, and understand those triggers and see how it fares versus some of the more meta lists that we've been seeing in some of these tournaments.
All right. Alex, what is the number one thing to do to prep for Worlds?
You got to play your list. I don't get a lot of practice in ever, so I just got to tell my opponent, one of my friends or whatever, just like, hey, fly this monstrous, probably meta list that's going to be there, and I'm going to try to play against it, see if I can analyze any weird quirks on my list compared to theirs, just get experience in there, because I'm actually really good with remembering triggers and stuff like that. Just because I play stupid Republic stuff. That's all triggers. So as long as I nailed that skill down, I just gotta just practice against other meta lists.
All right. For me, the big thing. How about this? The big thing for me is probably weird and a lot different than everybody else. For me, it is your attitude. And I will say that because I have a tendency to become tilted quicker in a game probably than other people do. And that doesn't always mean the game's over with. And the biggest thing for me is understanding that what's the probability, right, that I'm going to be one out of 180 people, one of the 8 out of 180 people who probably don't play as often as somebody else does. So, for example, the Crispies of the world probably get 50 games a weekend, it seems. That guy's always playing games. I do not get that many games in. I typically could get 5 or 6 games in a week, and I feel good when I get that many. Locals helps with that. You know, we get 2 in-person games a week, does really help with that. And JJ typically will play me on mute at least once or twice during the week, so I get some of that feel as well. But for me, the big thing is understanding where you are, how you can achieve your base set goal. So my goal is to get into the LCQ, right? Is to get into the first day of Worlds. That is my ultimate goal, is to get into the first day of Worlds. That is the goal I've set for myself. If I exceed that, I will be ecstatic. If I don't, I will count myself ready to go get shit-faced with Greg. That's my goal. That's the other part of my attitude is I'm here to hang out with other people from the show, people from, you know, around the world that I've never gotten to hang out with before, right? Like, I don't think Alex and I have ever actually gone out and had a beer together, though I don't drink beer. But we've never actually sat down and had a beer together. Well, you know what? We did at Rust Cup. We did do that for Rust Cup, I guess. So we did have pseudo beer together.
Like 25 other people joined too.
Yeah. So for me, my attitude is do not get tilted at my dice. Do not get gloaty about my dice. And do not end the game when somebody almost one-rounds my Grievous. Especially when you could come back and almost win the game on the last shot of the game with 2 ships left. So do not lose that, because for me that's where the game stops becoming fun. So all right. So what is the next piece I think that we want to talk about, right? You know, so we talk about what's the number one thing to prep for Worlds. I think maybe we could spend a few minutes and talk about, you know, understanding the day of, right? You know, so like you're going to have, or the days you're playing, what to do on, I think a lot of people cover this, but on the days you are playing, right? Because obviously it's going to be a lot different. It's going to be, it's not going to be the same thing. You're not like, JJ and I went to Adepticon last year, right? And halfway through the one tournament, we said, we're going to get, what's that hot dog place that's really famous out there?
Oh my gosh. Portobello's.
Portillo's, not Portobello's.
Yeah.
Though portobello mushrooms are amazing, folks. So Portillo's, right? And so the best part about that, right, is that we're in the middle of it, and we're just like, fuck it, we're gonna DoorDash this, and it took so long to get there. We had missed lunch and gone into a whole nother game, and then I had to finish playing the game before I could even eat my food. So on the day you're playing, JJ, what is, you know, what do you do to try to ensure that you're going to be healthy, hydrated, and all of that?
Yeah, get with the game plan. If you're not sure how the day is going to play out, ask the tournament organizer, especially when you're doing the check-in. I know last year when we did Adepticon, Dion and the gang were there signing everybody in. They answered any questions right there. They were very good at communicating how the day was going to be structured in terms of like breaks and how many rounds they're going to play for that day. So plan accordingly. If you can't remember it mentally, use your phone. Set reminders for you to take appropriate bathroom breaks. Make sure you have plenty of water there because when you're in the heat of the moment, after a few rounds, just the perspiration, your body, getting sweaty and stuff, you can get dehydrated very easily, which can affect your mental state on when you're doing your games there. So definitely make sure you have your supplies ready for you to have the food that you need. If you need to regularly, to have water regularly so that we can hydrate as you're playing the game, and set up, bring snacks with you, and do that while you're in the breaks between games. And just be in mind, if you're going to Adepticon, there are not a lot of places around there readily available for you to go out and grab something to eat. There is hotel food. If that's a little bit out of your budget, definitely planning to bring snacks with you in the bag can help you if you're on a budget. We can tell you, in our experience, the hotel food was not the best. It was definitely a lot of bread, which can make you very, very thirsty, which in turn also makes you need to use the restroom later on. So yeah, definitely planning that ahead is definitely a big part of your experience there at Adepticon.
How about you, Alex?
Oh man, I don't I don't really do anything special. Um I could one Cody has a specific method he uses for tournaments. I can tell you that he's either got to be very hungover or also currently drinking. In between rounds, he drinks, loosens him up, keeps him focused. I try not to do a lot of like caffeine and stuff because that gets me jittery, and then I make poor decisions because I'm thinking too fast, and then I knock a whole bunch of ships over.
Yeah, I was gonna say the range checks and you're jittery and you knock stuff over. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
yeah.
not
I
good.
try to keep it relatively stable with my caffeine intake and food in general. I don't know. I'm like a camel, anyways. I don't really go to the bathroom frequently, so it's just kind of take it as you leave it. Actually, the more I need to pee, the better I do at X Wing. Just because I'm like, I need to end this game right now. I'm going to take some ballsy plays and hurry up and get to the bathroom. So that might be a superpower too.
All right, I'm going to put that down as hold your pee.
Yeah, I was not the person to ask about any of this. I don't do anything on the day of. I covered there. I could be hungover. I could be 2 hours asleep. It's just whatever.
So
Doesn't
I will
bother me.
say, as somebody who does not sleep at night, I have a very hard time with these early morning tournaments. They are like when we did the thing at Eternal and it was at noon, that was great. I was able to like do whatever I wanted the night before, sleep until 10, have my morning shower, my morning bathroom break. I got to eat like a lunch because I hate breakfast and think breakfast food is disgusting. Um so like for me it's a little bit different. For me the big thing is, and I will say, bring, like, I don't want to call them supplement packets, but like I bring the Propel that has the stuff that's like Gatorade but with no sugar. So it's like it's a powder pack that has whatever those hydration things in them is. And
Electrolytes.
yes, there you go, electrolytes. And I add that to my water, and I will tell you, yes, I pee a lot to begin with, and some of it's because of the blood pressure medication I'm on. It does not help that, and I drink a lot of fluid because of that. But I found that the electrolytes help me feel better, especially by round 3 when I want to break out the shots. Then I just have the water next to me with the hydration, and I can do the shot, drink the water, do the shot, drink the water, whatever you want to do. If you don't drink, Chicago green's legal, so I mean, I don't know, maybe you do that between rounds. I don't, because then I stop caring about the game.
Yeah, that'd
Like,
be rough.
like at that point, then it's just kind of like, oh, I bumped the ship. Let's just roll some dice. It's cool, man.
Yeah, and for those that like to stay out, just keep in mind that if they do this year what they did last year, the final day where they do like the top cut, that is a very early day and is also a very short day. They started last year at what 7:30 in the morning. We had to be there for us to like do the player count before they started like at 8 o'clock in the morning. I remember that was a really like it felt like a long day. Yeah.
Also to
Yeah.
like show my complete lack of planning out my day and everything. I went to that tournament that Tanner went to. I had a wedding the day before in Chicago, and I drove in from Chicago, losing an hour going in there, and still came in
Oh, man.
second. So I'm not a good person for any of this.
Fair enough. All right, what else you guys, GG, what else you want to talk about for Worlds prep?
I think we should start going into the list building aspect of it, right? So planning your list, right? For me personally, when it comes to deciding on the list, I have a pretty easy method for myself. What I do for me, since I play every faction, I basically do, I have it on a rotating schedule for myself, right? Like for certain months, I'll run Scum, then I'll go to CIS, and then I'll go to Empire, which is where I'm at now. And then after this, I'm probably going to do First Order. So in my case, that makes my selection process easy because I've already selected a schedule ahead of time for what faction I'm going to play. If you don't know what faction you're going to play, um, my suggestion: get random games as much as you can. There's always a lot of players looking for games, either through the main Discord or through GSP or through Nickel City. People always looking to get practice games in and try out a list. Try out a list that you may have not thought of before, even in a different faction, to get a feel for it. The whole point is trying to see what your comfort level is. If you know that, then you can easily narrow it down to an archetype. And if you've been following us, we've been talking about different archetypes and how they're composed. And try out those different archetypes and try to see what fits your playstyle. If you like salad lists, which has a little bit of everything, or if you look at really beefy ships that have a lot of health and a lot of different mods, options, and stuff, um, make that a wheelhouse. Understand, and once you get into that point, then you start streamlining it. Right, you want to make that list as efficient as possible according to your playstyle. You want to be able to remember your triggers instinctively, right? You once you get enough reps in, you know when your triggers are going to happen. It's a little harder to do that when you're going in between lists constantly, and you don't get enough reps in. That's when you tend to forget your triggers. That's when you kind of misplay your ships because you believe you had certain loadouts when you switched over to a new loadout. So trying to get that time accordingly is also very key when you're trying to make that selection process for your list selection.
Alex?
I like to do a lot of research into other tournaments to kind of see what list might show up. Kind of see if I can see like a common factor in there and look at my list and be like, is my list survivable enough to, live through a game of the 6-ship FO, for example, or Vader and the Boys? Can I go through the Django Dirge Grievous 404 list and kind of work on there? And if I'm playing some sort of janky list, I'm just like, do I actually want to do this? Do I think this is good enough? Or should I go on to a different list and then adjust it to my playstyle kind of thing? Which is what I'm doing for this Worlds. I am not flying Republic Jank.
That's like a first. For me, for list building, mine is a little bit different because I have list apprehension, and faction apprehension, on a high rate. Like it's insane. I could tell you I will be running CIS for Worlds. That's what I will be running. I couldn't tell you the specific list because I have list apprehension and I've been running multiple different CIS lists out there. So I have bombers, vultures, and Grievous. I have the Grievous Dirge Django 404, which is identical to the list that we've really I've been running since the beginning of the summer, which is Django, a bomber, 2 droids, and Grievous. So it's almost the same bloody list. So I have, those. And then I've been running that 2 outmaneuver ship CIS list, which is completely off meta with 2 tri-fighters. And does 50-50 for me. So, There you go. Anyway, so for me, the big thing is understanding if you have list apprehension and making sure you prep yourself for that. So I know I have that, and I have had to tell people to tell me to stick with what I know. So JJ tells me at least 3 times a week to shut the fuck up and just play your CIS list and stop trying to play Empire, which is what I really want to swerve to, or FO, because I feel those are stronger to some extent in some way, shape, or form, because they're easier button pusher lists. That's what they are. And so that's
I kind of want to elaborate on that a little bit more, right?
Sure.
Because we've had definitely many conversations about setting up making your decision on what list you want to do, right? um, there comes a point, especially when you've been playing a list for a while, where you become uncertain if that's a list that you want to spend your time with, and if you think that the list in your perception, if it's a good list, right? It's definitely very difficult um, to give up a list that you're comfortable with, or at least an archetype that you're comfortable with. Um, but at the same time, I think the biggest part of that is identifying what the weakness is in that list, right? Especially when you're facing off against a different archetype or a different list in another faction that you feel that you have a weakness to, right? Like what a hard counter is to your particular list. And then, at least what I've done for myself, when I've played Rebels, for instance, my best Rebel list that I've had was a Wedge, Braylon, Jake, and Thane, and that was back in 2.0 days. My biggest weakness at the time was swarms, right? Because swarms could easily divide my forces and chew them apart. So what I did for myself was first understand what those lists can do. So what I would do is, for every 3 games I would play in my list, I would take a version of a swarm and play that, just so I could understand the mechanics of it and see the setup for it, and try to mimic what I've seen from my opponents. So that way I can understand what its strengths are. So that way I can formulate my own tactics against it with my list. And that's given me pretty good success for it. It's a little harder to do if you don't have the time for it, but definitely identifying that weakness in your list can probably change your perception on your list, if you have list apprehension for it, and hopefully make you feel better about your decision for that list.
Yeah, and I think that's where when we played over in the east side, and we played a tournament a couple weeks ago for 3 rounds, and when you have Volan on 2 turns, now one of them still still my fault for letting Anakin get range 1 of Volan and throw 4 red dice, but when you roll 3 blanks and you can't mod, you can't do anything, you just, even if you had an elusive, it's still a 50-50, and you just lose 1 ship automatically with 1 shot. Like, that's when you go, okay, how do you either fix that part of the list through flying, or is it even possible because of the way that a lot of the lists are structured and built now, And I think that's the bigger piece of it. Django doesn't have that. Anakin doesn't have that. That's why you see a lot of high initiative lists and stuff like that do really well. But I think understanding your list apprehension and making a decision. So on my side of it, for me, it comes down to understanding, I know I have apprehension. That's why I set a lower goal for myself, so that I would have less apprehension, hopefully. And it makes me feel a little bit more at ease if I could just go 3 and 2 each day, and I could just be happy with where I'm at then. And then I don't have to feel the pressure to run a super competitive Vader list, because it seems Vader's the top competitor. The other piece on list building is you have to at least fly 1 ship that you like. If you don't fly a ship you like, or that you really like to fly, you're gonna have a bad time. I don't care what anyone says. That's, to me, that's if I ran 8 vultures, I would not have a good time. period. Even if I won, I would have a very unhealthy or unhappy time flying 8 vultures around the board and watching them either my dice work or my dice not work, and them just getting picked off one at a time. So vultures and Grievous still have a good time because it's got Grievous in it, baby. We know at least Grievous won't die. Usually.
I just give them only pilot crits. It's really convenient.
Doesn't happen very often. You know that.
Every time I play against them, just pilot crits.
And maybe you're
great.
sick in the deck. I'm hearing you're cheating, is what I'm hearing, Alex. That's what I hear. Is cheating.
Yeah, I take my opponent's deck and I arrange it in a way that when they take random damage, it's always pilot crits. No, when I play Matt Corsair, every time he has Grievous, every time he never burns through his entire Impervium and he run like 2 or 3 crits. It's just always panic pilot or like blinded. It's always the worst.
Put him on Dooku. You're right. We could put him on Dooku and he doesn't die. He
I gave him
regenerates,
a
baby.
blinded, and then I gave him a panicked. And then you got nothing you can do.
Yeah, I think we just punch you at that time. That's when the Grievous comes flying across the table. Which I told you about that. That happened to me in Destiny once. I had somebody throw a card at me. Like, literally throw a card at me at the end of the game. I don't know who the hell it was, but...
Win by paper cut.
Yeah.
The guy who edits our podcast got threatened to be taken out in the streets by one of his opponents because he did it was in 1.0 and he gave him like a Kylo with a rack. It's just like, you want to take this outside? And he's like, what? No, it's just a game.
So what I want to do here is we're going to wrap up the show tonight. We're not going to go 2 hours tonight. I've decided I do not want to do a 2-hour show. I am recovering from being sick all last week, so I would like to be able to go to bed at a decent hour tonight. We are going to talk some Mando, yes. We will not forego Mando, and that will happen right after this. We'll take like a 2-second break, and then we'll be right back with Mando. Actually, we don't even need a break. At this point, we don't even need a break. I don't have a graphic made, so. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, and if anybody has one last thing they want to say about Worlds Prep, we could talk about it. Otherwise, next week, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the list you're going to see, and we'll kind of break down the weaknesses and strengths of that specific, list. So I do not want a million lists, guys, but your job over the week is to find 3-ish lists, whatever you feel are meta staples. Post the links in our new doc. I'm not even drunk. This is ridiculous. Our doc, and then what we'll do next week is we're going to actually go over, like, talking through those lists. Because I think there's some weaknesses to the boys and Vader and the Ubil list, right? Like, if you could kill Ubil pretty quickly, that list to some extent falls apart. If you can get the boys out of position, the list struggles. If you can get Vader blocked, so if they put Vader over here and everybody over here, and you can stop Vader from doing Vader things, you just took 6 points heavy hitter out of that list. Hence why JJ runs Vader next to Mauler. That's just so you know, folks. That's exactly why JJ does that. JJ has a different play style than most people. But that's what we'll do next week. Is we're going to cover that. But do either of you have anything real quick that you want to add for Worlds Prep? Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up and jump into Mando?
Just make sure you research your lists and see what you can do.
And above all, no matter what your record is, just go there, have fun. There's so many people there that you'll meet and have a blast with. I know I certainly did last year. Enjoy that part of Worlds. Enjoy yourself. After the game and the tourney is over, that's done. Go out, eat, have fun, and enjoy answering.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you all. We will not be live next Sunday, but we'll be live Monday or Tuesday, but probably Monday. As of right now, I haven't talked to the guys yet about that. Only drink responsibly if you have to drive. If you don't have to drive, don't drink responsibly. And if you win, don't drink responsibly either, so that way Tanner can also win some games too. Unless I guess you're Cody Wood.
Yeah, it only makes them better. It's crazy.
So, well, thank you all for joining us. If you do not know who we are, we're Planning Phase Syndicate, and you're welcome to subscribe, follow, like, do whatever to your heart's content to support the show. We will be back next Monday with more Planning Phase Syndicate.